Swoon again. Vale has 3 swoon points, and it's not even a spicy scene. So well done, sir. Well done. She loves nothing more than to talk about his blood. Probably in the same way that I talk about A Court of Mist and Fury. We could call it obsessive excitement. I don't know.
Dear Vale, who knew the reclusive, terrifying vampire could also moonlight as a nurse, therapist, and personal cheer squad? It's really impressive she got as much world building as she does because it's such a small book.
Look at this. You can't even spray that edge. It's teensy.
It is teensy.
Hi, and welcome to Romantasy Remedy. I'm Whitney.
And I'm Kenzie. We're sisters-in-law and book besties who thrive on daily doses of magic and romance from our favorite fantasy stories.
So, if your emotional support animal is a dragon and your therapist has shadow powers, you're in the right place. Thanks for being here and for liking, rating, and following our show. Before we get started, this is our official content warning. Simply put, Romantasy Remedy is a podcast for grown-ups. The topics and language will reflect that. Please listen at your comfort level.
And one more thing before we dive into the Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. Our spoiler warning. For most of the episode, there will only be spoilers for chapters 7 through 13. But at the end of today's episode, we will have our Spoiler Central segment where we make connections to events later in the book and in the entire Crowns of Nyaxia series. Don't worry, we'll give another big warning before we begin Spoiler Central.
Thanks, Kenz. That's a tongue twister sometimes.
Spoiler Central segment. Yeah. Spoiler Central segment.
Goodness, you do a great job. One of our goals at Romantasy Remedy is to highlight how books in this genre inspire readers. When we see characters facing fears, overcoming challenges, and growing into their potential, it helps us to do the same. So each week, we'll choose a quote from the chapters we read to be an affirmation, a phrase to empower and motivate us. This week's affirmation says, "Does nothing bother you?" We love this because we all have times when we need the reminder that we are in control of our thoughts and reactions. Even when life gets scary or stressful, we get to choose how we respond. We base this affirmation on words spoken about Lilith. Keep listening to get all the details surrounding this amazing quote later in the episode. And don't forget, you can find a printable version of the affirmation in the show notes in case you want to stick it on your mirror or fridge or wherever. And with that, Kenz is going to recap what happened in this week's section of chapters.
Here we go. Vale shows off his artifact collection and traumatic backstory before walking Lilith to the door. They share a very heated moment where Vale admits he can smell both her blood and her arousal. Subtle, he is not. Lilith declines his invitation to spend the night, goes home, and finds Mina looking like death warmed over. She throws herself back into plague science, successfully tests Vale's blood on a rat, and runs out of samples. On her way to restock, she's ambushed by creeps with knives. Just as things get ugly, Vale shows up, kills them all, and carries her off to his mansion like the gothic hero he is. Lilith wakes up bandaged but otherwise comfy. Vale insists she stay till healed and fusses over her with silk sheets and overtrained bedtime stories. Once able to walk, Lilith explores Vale's weapon room as well as his past as a general. She takes more blood samples, meets a faceless ghost messenger, and has an emotional breakdown about people refusing to help based on principle. Vale, unlike everyone else in Edkova, actually listens. He offers to help in every way possible. When he sees her fully nerd out during research date night, he calls her beautiful. Eventually, Lilith heads home. Mina, shocked her sister came back in one piece, let alone with vampire fan mail. When Lilith gets her first letter from Vale, Mina catches her looking way too giddy about it and gives her the side eye of doom.
Oh my goodness, so much to talk about today.
Yes.
So let's get started. Chapter 7, Vale is walking Lilith downstairs to the door, and This is because they've just finished collecting a blood sample, and Lilith keeps getting distracted by all of the super interesting things in Vale's house, but especially with these wings that are on display. We find out that the wings belong to a Hiaj general, and this leads Lilith and any readers who read The Serpent and the Wings of Night to conclude that Vale must be Rishon if he's displaying Hiaj wings that he
For sure.
conquered from somebody. And Vale actually confirms this like 2 seconds later. He also reveals that he watched his people lose a war before he left Obitrace many, many years ago. 200, I think, to be exact. So,
Which gives us a good timeline.
Yes, absolutely. Vale continues to tell Lilith about other artifacts in his home on their way to the door. Vale is impressed by how much Lilith knows about Obitrace, and Lilith is impressed by Vale too. Kenz, what was Lilith impressed by during this conversation with Vale?
Well, let me read you what Lilith says. What struck me even more is that he offered this information to me freely, without me even having to ask, like he understood each question I had before I asked it. He was just observant. And for those few moments, strangely enough, I felt like I didn't have to work so hard to bridge the gap between myself and the rest of the world. Didn't have to work so hard adjusting my facial muscles and body language, nor at decoding his. This is something like I really appreciate about Lilith's character. She is very open about her struggle to connect with others. I think we've all found our self in that at some point or another. At one
Definitely.
point, she actually talks about how much energy it takes for her to catch the nuances in people's words and body language, as well as deciding how her own face and voice should be when responding. And so it's a big deal that she feels so comfortable with Vale.
Yeah, absolutely. As you were saying this and describing the effort that Lilith puts forth in decoding other people, did you ever watch the show Big Bang Theory?
I've watched like bits and pieces, but I've never like watched it through. But I know the characters.
No worries. But you know one of the main characters on that show, Sheldon. And
Yes.
I could not tell you what season or anything, but there's an episode where he's having a conversation with Penny. And, you know, Penny and Sheldon are very different characters. Penny is very like social and not
Right.
bookish, and Sheldon is, you know, super smart and not very socially gifted. And they're having this conversation where he tells her that she is actually more intelligent in many ways because she knows how to read people. And he really struggles with that. He really struggles, just like Lilith describes her. He talks about how it's hard for him to know if someone is making a joke or not making a joke. And,
Right.
and so I thought of him when you were reading about Lilith's struggle, because it's the same. It's like the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Lilith and Sheldon have the same struggle with decoding people and understanding them and knowing how to act and respond to them sometimes.
That's a good way to
So-
put like that, book smart versus street smarts, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, perhaps.
I like that. Yeah.
Perhaps. And I love that Lilith is open about the struggle too. That's great. She totally admits how imperfect she is, but it's really obvious that she's also very, very intelligent and super
Yes.
determined, super brave. Lots of amazing qualities. Another thing I love about this section is the world building Carissa effortlessly weaves into the story. In like 2 paragraphs, we've learned about the Hiaj-Rishon conflict,
Right.
different houses in Obitrace, and important characterization of both Vale and Lilith. So, but at the same time, I don't feel like it felt like any of that was happening. It was
No.
just flowing with the story. So really cool that
Yes.
it just was woven in really naturally. Sometimes when you read a book, I feel like the world building gets really heavy at the beginning, and you know that's what's happening. You know it's important for the story, but you're like, okay, I just have to endure this. But not
For
here.
sure.
It just flows really naturally with the pace of the story. And
And it's
I think
really
that's great.
impressive she got as much world building as she does in this book, because it's
Mhm.
such a small book too.
Yeah, like I think
compared.
we were talking about this earlier, but look at this. You can't even
No.
spray
No.
that edge. It's teensy.
It is teensy. So like the fact that she was able to do that so effortlessly, and
Yeah.
like you said, like you don't even realize she's world building, but she's world building with the story. Glad you
Yes.
pointed that out. It's true.
Yes, so cool. At this point, they have finally made it to the door, and Vale says it's dangerous for Lilith to travel home alone at night. He's probably right. Lilith replies with, "If I don't do dangerous things, I would do nothing." That's not the official affirmation today, but it could definitely be a secondary one.
Yeah.
I love Lilith's willingness to take risks and her absolute refusal to just stand still and do nothing. She is like so determined to keep moving forward and keep progressing. And
Yeah.
so I really love this quote from her. If I didn't do dangerous things, I would do nothing. So cool. Vale actually does invite her to stay until morning, and it kind of turns into a moment, right? Tell us about the moment, Ken.
I will. Lilith actually teases him about already having a house guest.
Yes,
and
the redhead.
the redhead. And
Ginger
Belle
Spice.
says, oh my gosh. That's her name. That's her
It's
name,
her name,
Ginger Spice.
Ginger Spice.
And Belle says she can have her own bed, but he's not opposed to sharing.
Vale, you
know, right? Like,
fly dog.
It's just sparks already.
I know.
She asks him if her smell is tempting. She just flirts with danger. Like that whole, if I didn't do dangerous things, like she has flirted with danger this whole book so far.
Totally.
And all the while she's thinking about his naked hiney that she saw earlier. And he gets up like nice and close before confirming he not only smells her blood, but also her desire.
Oh,
I
my
can't
God.
imagine, like, you have all these like inside thoughts or inside thoughts for a reason. So if someone's
Right.
able to like smell it on you, like
I know.
like,
It's like that in all these books, though. Like, I
right?
haven't read Quicksilver yet. There's definitely a
No.
moment in Quicksilver where Kingfisher
I
does
want
this.
to. I
But
will
like
get there.
the Fae men talk about it. They're always talking
Right.
about smelling people's desires.
Like-
I'm like, just keep your nose to yourself, please.
Right?
Just for a second.
Right? It's like, or don't call me out on it. Like, my
Right.
gosh.
Just keep the inside thoughts inside. Just
That's
like
right.
Riddoch, please.
Right. Oh, yes. She doesn't deny it, but she does leave abruptly, telling Belle she'll see him next month. My, what a moment. So
Indeed.
when Lilith gets home, Mina is kind of just zoning out on her bed because she's got this plague, it's kind of numbered for her, and her skin dust is everywhere. Okay, can we just skin dust? Whoa. Ugh. So Lilith sweeps up skin dust.
Just
Nasty.
sweeping pieces of her sister off the floor. Blech.
I
Do they have like a biohazard bag that they
I
put
know.
this into? Like,
you see
oh
like the
my gosh.
heebie-jeebies, like, ugh.
Seriously. Creepy.
But at this point, the third row section of the book begins, and Lilith starts working nonstop on a cure. She uses Vale's blood to make potions, which partially works on an ill rat. And then one night, when it's midnight and it's stormy outside, she runs out of Vale's blood. We should have all known it was stormy outside, of course.
Yeah, of course this would
So
happen.
what does she do? She pauses all work until the next blood sample can be collected.
Yeah, that would be the rational thing to do. But
Right?
no, this is Lilith we're talking about. So
Why would she do that?
why would
If
she
I
be
didn't
rational?
do dangerous things,
I would do nothing. So, of course, she just grabs her science fanny pack with all her vials in it and starts walking to Vale's house at midnight in the middle of a thunderstorm. What could possibly go wrong? Because walking alone in the woods at nighttime in a storm isn't scary enough, she is then stopped by a bunch of dudes with knives. When they realize that she has no money to offer, they demand that she take off her dress instead as payment. Gross. I really hate how helpless she feels in this moment.
yes.
And luckily, she only has to unbutton 3 buttons before someone suddenly appears from behind her. Someone who takes down her attackers with very little effort. Someone who has incredible Rishon wings. Someone who flies Lilith back to his mansion to recover. And that someone, of course, is Vale. What did you make
Yes.
of this whole little scene, Kenz?
honestly, like, I didn't know what she was gonna do because I really didn't expect Vale to show up because they haven't up to this point, like, they have, like, some, rapport, but I didn't see it, like, this
Not
far,
really like
right?
friends. I don't
Right,
know.
and, like, how would he know that? Because it's been, like, sporadic when she comes to visit him, like,
Yeah, I
so,
still have
like,
that question. How did he know that
well,
that
that's
was
what
going on?
how did he know,
I
and how was
mean,
he there? So
how far does his like vampire super hearing
right,
extend?
right.
I don't know.
So,
Maybe it's like
I
a
think
magical tripwire on the edge of his property.
there
I
you
don't know.
go. I like that. So, I guess what I made of it was I was shocked. I honestly I didn't I I don't know what I thought was gonna happen, but I didn't think that was gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, good.
So,
Good twist then.
yes. Thank you, Vale. So the next thing Lilith knows, she's waking up in this luxurious bed of silk, and Vale is there. And it's kind of funny because he's all, I promise I didn't try to eat you. Like,
He's like, I know you're
as
gonna
vampires
ask.
do.
I did not try to eat you.
I just saved you from a bunch of men.
Yep.
And so, true to form, Lilith says that she needs to get home and get back to work. And Belle explains she isn't well. I mean, she just went through this attack in the storm, in the rain, middle of the night, and tries asking questions about the attack. But Lilith keeps saying she needs to go. And then Bale says, does nothing bother you? He said, you seem totally unmoved that you almost died. I didn't tell him that I was always almost dying. I don't have time to waste on useless things, I said. Bale's words inspired today's affirmation. Does nothing bother you? Lilith did have a horrific experience, and every day for her is potentially full of worry over her health, over Mina's health, her town's plague. Yet she has a relentless focus on finding a solution instead of being overwhelmed by her problems, which is impressive because I am definitely, we talked about this before, fainting goat. I'm
Yes.
stuck.
Yes. The
I'm
fainting
stuck.
goats.
Yes.
Yes.
So ultimately, this is a lesson on the power we have to choose our response, no matter the circumstance.
hmm
What would you like to add to the affirmation, Whit?
I love everything you've said so far. And I remember the first time I really started to understand this connection between like our thoughts and our feelings and our actions, how they all go together, and how essentially we can choose what to think about our circumstances and in turn choose our feelings as well as our actions. So rather than our circumstances controlling us and what we do. And I feel like that's a really powerful, life changing concept because instead of feeling like you're at the mercy of whatever happens to you, you feel like you're in the driver's seat of your life.
Yes,
And that's important because we can't control what happens to us. The only thing we do control is how we respond. So kudos to Lilith for being awesome at this.
for
And
sure.
I love that little question as an affirmation. Does
I do too.
nothing bother you? Almost like not so much a question in this context as an encouragement for us, right? To not
Right,
let things bother us. And even her kind of secondary comment, like, I don't have time to waste on useless things.
right.
Is it useful to get overwhelmed about things, or is it better to focus on a solution, right? And I'm not saying to brush off your feelings. Totally fine
No,
to feel things, right? Like give yourself 5 minutes to feel all the feelings and then go be gangster and take like deal with your
I
problems.
like,
But yes, I really like this one. Does nothing bother you? So don't forget that you can print it out and
yes,
stick it wherever you need to so that you can feel less overwhelmed and
right.
be in the driver's seat when life gets crazy.
I am definitely going to print this one off because my mom, I think I was in middle school, and she gave me a magnet. I'm a magnet person from the fridge, like just, I'm one
hmm
of those people. And it was a quote, I believe it was from Eleanor Roosevelt, but it said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
Yes,
And
that's
I
so
love
good.
that. And this reminds me kind of that, like, does nothing bother you? It's like, no, because I can choose how I want to respond. So it's like a
hmm
sassier way of saying it. So I like it.
I love
I
that.
like it.
That's a
I'll just add
great
it to it.
connection. Yes. Yes. Well, and Lilith is awesome at this, but one thing she's not so awesome at is admitting that she's too sick to work. So
Yes.
Vale does this for her and insists that she rest, and he even promises to send a human errand boy to check on Mina every day. So many questions about that. Like, where did he find this human errand boy that is not afraid of him? But anyway, he has one. It's fine. But it's really sweet that he's like, yes, I will take care of your sister. We'll make sure she's okay. Lilith does quickly grow bored of just laying in bed and resting. Right. So Vale agrees to read her some of his Obitrean books. And she makes some comments about his smooth voice as he's reading these stories, and it actually lulls her to sleep. So when she wakes up, she realizes that someone has gently tucked in the sheets around her in the silky, luxurious bed. And I love that detail. And I'm trying to picture broody, scary Vale, just tucking in the silk sheets around Lilith. And it's
the Sith Lord tucking her into bed.
Yes, Sith Lord Voldemort Vale.
No, Lord Vale.
But wait, that was just a sweet, cute detail.
It is. I agree, and I think it says a lot, because I think that's just one of those little small acts of kindness that you can easily overlook. So I'm glad that she pointed it out. He took the time and the care to do that. When Lilith wakes up, Vale isn't there, and she does exactly what we'd expect Lilith to do. She gets up and she starts wandering around, because why would she not? Each room is described
What's
as
the worst
being...
that could happen? She walks in on Vale having sex with another person?
Been there, done that, it's fine. She describes each room as being more cluttered than the last. So Vale is low-key hoarder, maybe, right?
Pretty much.
Lilith stumbles into a room full of all kinds of weapons. And Vale finds her there and says, "You're very bad at resting." He cracks me up because he's got so many one-liners. You're very bad at resting. Good. Does nothing bother you? It's just so much. Good. And during their conversation in this weapon room, Vale reveals that he wasn't just any Rishon vampire, but a general. And in an effort to not talk about the war he lost, Vale asks if Lilith needs her blood. He's like, I'm not talking about that. You're here for blood.
Yeah, right? Let's go. I'd rather have you stick needles in my arm than talk about
what were you here for?
Painful memories.
Right? Yes. And so Lilith starts collecting his blood, and they're getting all flurry as they do, when suddenly there's a loud banging at the door. And Vale opens the door to some kind of faceless ghost person. And this faceless ghost person delivers a message summoning Vale back to Obitrace. And Vale tells Lilith he refuses to go back because he does not agree with who the new Rishon leader will be. Dun-dun-dun. Lilith,
I wonder who that could be.
Right? Lilith has a great line here. Something being difficult is not a good reason not to do it. I love that.
I love that line too. It would also be a great affirmation.
100%.
Maybe we just make a printable for all of them. I don't know.
There's 4 in this stretch of chapters.
In this one episode, there could be 3 or 4 affirmations. It's true. Something being difficult is not a good reason not to do it. It's basically saying I can do hard things, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So come on, Vale. Surely someone taught you that in Obitrace.
You are a vampire. My goodness.
Seriously, though. Vale goes on to try to explain that no one will bow to this new king and that he can't support the new king on principle. It's kind of a trigger word for Lilith. He shouldn't have said
that. Right.
She a little bit loses it. Yeah, she a little bit loses it and erupts with words about how her sister and her town are dying and everyone is afraid to look for real answers because of principles. Vale is silent as Lilith continues her emotional explanation. She actually, I think, tears up if I remember reading this part.
Which I think is something that's
emotional.
Yeah, which is, I think, very out of character for her.
Yes. Yes, it is. Kudos to Vale for picking up on this. I mean, he has the emotional intelligence to a point here where he recognizes that this is sensitive for her. This is really important to her, something he needs to listen to. And so he does. He's silent. And then he asks her to show him his blood. And of course, she's thrilled to do this. She loves nothing more than to look at his blood, talk about his blood. So she sets up her magical microscope and projects Vale's blood and starts talking about it, probably in the same way that I talk about a quart of mist and fury. Maybe we could call it obsessive excitement. I don't know. Vale is skeptical, though, claiming that vampire blood never helped anything. Lilith assures him that it could save them. So Vale then goes on to say, wait, I'm going to warn you. Be prepared to swoon. Some swooning may occur.
Okay, I'm ready.
Vale says, that's not true. You, he said, you are saving them. Vale.
I love this.
Swoon alert.
Yes.
Swoon alert.
Vale isn't what we thought he was.
Not a weird old Sith Lord, Lord Voldemort.
I love that he gives her that because she has been working so hard, and that he reaffirms what she's doing, right?
Well, and he's totally right. Like, his blood is just there existing. It wouldn't have done anything if she hadn't been the one to pursue that idea and that path.
Right.
So,
right.
It is her.
It is 100%. And I love that he verbalizes that. And he doesn't just stop there. Get ready to fall in love with Vale, guys. He goes on to say,
let's do it.
Whatever you need, my blood, my books, my knowledge, anything, it's yours.
Man.
We see Vale.
I will take it.
I think he's joined the
whole Vale
boyfriend
package,
chat.
Mm-hmm.
He's here. And this is a big deal, though. I mean, think about how most vampires in The Serpent and the Wings of Night viewed humans. Here he is offering any and all resources, his own blood, to help a human woman. And not just help a human woman in a human town.
True. Very true.
Huge. And they waste no time. Over the next few days, Vale dives in alongside Lilith researching. I love that he gets involved. At one point,
me too.
Lilith, great. At one point, Lilith realizes she loosened her control over her socially unacceptable attitudes, and she was just basically letting her raw enthusiasm for this research be on display. And she's concerned Vale won't like that because most in her life don't up to this point, right? And just as she's about to explain herself, Vale cuts her off by saying, "You are a very beautiful woman." I love that. When she's exposing herself.
Yes. I was about to say, this is the most, this is the most perfectly timed compliment in Romantasy, because Lilith is so misunderstood by everyone. And here Vale is telling her that those misunderstood qualities are the very things that make her beautiful.
Right.
Swoon again. Vale has 3 swoon points now, and it's not even a spicy scene. So well done, sir. Well done. Sadly, the swooning must end because after a week of sleepovers at Vale's house, Lilith feels the need to return home. Makes sense. She does have like a dying sister to check on.
Right.
Before being sent home on a beautiful black stallion that Vale is just giving to her, Vale asks if he can write to her, because we don't have texting in Abkova. So he wants to write her some letters. And Lilith, of course, agrees. So the relationship status has officially been upgraded to pen pals.
Love that love language of letter writing. So cute.
That is really cool. Really cool. Mina is very happy to see Lilith when she returns. And she can't believe that Lilith was safe with this reclusive vampire who lives in the woods. Go figure.
Right.
Her surprise is warranted. The next day, Lilith receives a letter from Vale, and the way it's described very much reminded me of magic letters from Hogwarts. It had a wax seal and everything, totally like a Hogwarts letter. And Lilith is giddy over getting this letter from Vale. Mina totally notices. Sisters notice things like this, right?
They do.
Probably especially with Lilith, who I doubt gets giddy about very many things.
vampire blood, I think, is the only thing thus far.
Yeah, exactly. And so when Mina notices Lilith's reaction to Vale's letter, she warns Lilith to be careful. And it's not, hey, be careful because he's a vampire and that's dangerous. It's be careful because you know what will happen if they know,
Right.
which is an important distinction, right?
Yes, it is. And it's so interesting that Mina recognizes it isn't Vale who is dangerous, but the people who have misconceptions about Vale. And
Hmm.
I love that Mina made that point. And it's a great portrayal of the danger of ignorance and prejudice, right? And it's
Totally.
something I think we've seen, but it's also something we'll see play out more in future episodes. And that's all I say about it now.
Yeah, yes, because we are actually going to finish exploring Six Scorched Roses for today. But we'll get to more about all of that again in not too many episodes because this book is only this big.
It's like a fraction of the other books.
But again, I do have to say, like I think it was just earlier in the episode, we were saying there is so much in so little.
Yes.
Like there aren't very many
Oh.
words, but they are used so intentionally that there's a lot in there.
Oh,
lot
for
in there.
sure. And I do think, like we talked about in the last episode, how helpful it is when you start the next part of the duology with Aurea and Rain,
Yes.
how
Mhm.
much it sets up some of the struggles that they see in that book even more with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the best parts of reading is learning things that help us with this messy adventure we call life. Each episode, we're going to share a true story that connects to lessons we learned in the chapters that we read. Today, I have a story from my husband's childhood about not judging someone and truly supporting them. So, kind of like Vale did not judge Lilith and truly supported her when she needed that. So, Griffin played baseball, and as you can imagine, Ken's, he was pretty competitive.
Griffin?
he he wanted to win, and he wanted teammates who could help him win. So one year, there was a kid on his team who wasn't very good. And he knew that the right thing to do was to encourage him, but he still saw him as a liability. The team didn't truly believe in him. But Griffin's dad and older brother, who were helping at practices and at games, saw something different. They worked with this guy every practice, encouraging him, helping him improve. Griffin said that he would see his dad and his brother running the same drills with his teammate that they would run with him at home. And they took time to teach him the mechanics and the fundamentals of baseball and different situations and strategies. After each session, they encouraged him and expressed faith in his ability. What Griffin didn't know at the time was that this kid lived with his grandmother. His parents were not in his life. He didn't have anyone at home to teach him how to throw, how to catch, how to bat. And his dad and brother, Griffin's dad and brother, were the first ones to really do that for him. So the season progressed and something remarkable happened. His abilities improved and he became a true asset to the team. Before the end of the season, something changed, at least in Griffin. This teammate usually played right field and the best fielder was in the center. During one game, a ball was hit between them. The center fielder sprinted and dove, just barely missing the catch. But what they hadn't noticed was that this kid, who they once saw as a liability, also took off on a sprint towards the ball and dove right behind the center fielder. At first, because the center fielder had clearly missed, they thought the ball had hit the ground. But then this kid stood up behind him, holding his glove in the air triumphantly because he had caught it. So, just as Vale did not judge Lilith for her ideas and supported her completely, Griffin's dad and brother did the same for this teammate. So, little fun Sandlot type baseball story.
It's like one of those Goosebumps one where that underdog wins or that underdog is seen and someone I love that story. It's a good story and thank you for sharing. It's just like I feel good And I think
Yes.
it's also teaches us a lesson that sometimes people just need a little extra love and to be seen and heard. And sometimes they just need some extra encouragement that they otherwise aren't getting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And I appreciate Griffin letting me share because I was trying to come up with a good story and this one was perfect. So thanks, Griffin.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Griffin. Thanks for that competitive nature of yours.
Love it. Love it.
Speaking of thank yous, before we go, let's also take a moment to express gratitude to a character who we admire from this stretch of chapters. And today's note is for Vale. So here it goes. Dear Vale, who knew the reclusive, terrifying vampire could also moonlight as a nurse, a therapist, and personal cheer squad? Thank you for swooping in to save Lilith when she needed it most, and then Ashley sticking around to make sure she healed. For listening without judgment, a rare talent for humans and vampires alike. For asking questions instead of brushing her off, and for being brave enough to change your mind when the answers surprised you. And maybe most of all, thank you for seeing Lilith clearly. Where others misunderstood her intelligence, her laser focus, and her unflinching honesty, you found them beautiful. Also, let's be honest, offering to help in every possible way, that's peak overachiever energy, and we are not mad about it. You might wear the broody, dangerous veneer well, but your soft side, that's what really makes you unforgettable. So from your friends at Romantasy Remedy Vale, thank you.
Thank you, Vale, and thank you, Kenzie, for having this book chat with me about Six Scorched Roses. Thank you, everybody who listened. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a comment on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, wherever you are listening. We would love to hear from you. And please join us next week as we continue exploring this book. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
We have reached the end of the main portion of our episode. Thank you so much for listening. Look for Romantasy Remedy on Instagram and TikTok. Check the show notes for those links, as well as links to the printable affirmation and soundtrack playlist on Spotify.
We're really looking forward to connecting with you and nerding out over all the best romantasy. After this, we'll begin the spoiler central segment of the episode, which you shouldn't listen to if you haven't finished the entire series, including the rest of this book. We're totally those book besties where one of us reads at a normal speed and one of us reads faster than you can winnow from here to Valaris. Since Whitney is a speed reader, I'm going to duck out while she does spoiler central.
All right, you've been warned. Here come the spoilers. I just have 3 things I want to briefly mention for Spoiler Central today. The first thing I want to talk about is how Lilith distilling Vale's blood prepares her to help Asar and Misha in The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk. Lilith helps them distill Alaris's blood so that they can find Alaris's heart. So very cool how those 2 things are linked. The next thing I want to mention is how Vale was a general in Obitrace and how he will be one again someday. In Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, Vale returns to Obitrace as Rain's general. He ends up having to work with Araya's Nightborn general, Jasmine, to coordinate the attack against Simon. He's also still Rain's general in The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk, though he does get captured by the Shadowborn and impersonated by Gideon. He's freed by the end of the book, thank goodness, and gets back to strategizing for the impending war with the gods. So it seems that with Vale, once a general, always a general. And the last thing I want to mention in Spoiler Central today is Vale's refusal to return to Obitrace and, in his words, put some nobody on the throne. He's talking about Rain here, and his prejudice comes from when he was a noble in Neculai's court and knew Rain as a turned slave. I read a passage in Spoiler Central last episode where Vale apologizes to Rain in Ashes and the Star-Cursed King and tells him that he knows as long as he is the king, the turned vampires like Lilith are safe. Clearly, Vale grows to respect this nobody and ends up trying very hard to keep him on the throne. That's all I've got for Spoiler Central today. Thank you so much for listening to Romantasy Remedy. Please join us next week as we continue exploring Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent.